Well, hi folks, welcome to the channel and thanks for joining me. So today we're going to take a look at this Munchman by Grandstand, all the way from the very early 1980s, and it's a cool looking thing. Always like the look of these, but this particular example is pretty grotty. You might not be able to see it so well on the camera, but suffice it to say it's very scuffed there. You can probably see that, and it's just dirty. There's grime inside the switches there, the paint's worn away. There's sticker residue and bumps and scrapes and knocks all over it. It's just not a very particularly clean example. The bottom's not too bad, to be fair. That's much better. A quick polish of this would sort it out a treat, I think. But yeah, it just needs some TLC and try and really bring it to life again. Now, I believe it doesn't work. Now, I don't know why that is yet. We'll find out, I guess, and see if we can fix it. So, battery compartment looks okay. The terminals aren't the brightest in the world, but actually I've got to say they're not too bad at all. So I think if it's going to work with batteries, it will. I've got some here that are known good batteries, so if it's going to work, it will. So let's just try that now. Okay, so what do we know? Let's turn it on. Nothing at all. Sometimes there can be corrosion on the switch there, so we'll just wiggle that a bit. Yeah, it's not doing anything. Completely dead. So plan B then, we'll get the batteries out. So we now know that it doesn't work from batteries, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work at all. They may, you know, does the screen work? Does the sound work? What's the situation with that? So what we'll do quickly is just try it with AC as well. See if we can actually, well, actually I should say DC current. We're going to use an AC adapter, convert it down to DC, and it's 6 volts. I'll just check that actually. So I've got the, let's just have a look here. We want a negative tip for this Grandstand unit. So if we just check this now, yeah, 5.75 volts, that's good enough for me. And it'll be good enough for Mr. Munchman. If it wants to work, it'll run off that quite nicely. So let's plug this in now and see what happens. Oh, there we go. All right, so it's working fine, or at least the sound's on. It might be flickering from where you are. That's just the shutter speed. It's not flickering in real life, as it were. So amateur. And let's just check our little man. He's moving left and right, and yeah, up and down. Not the best response in the world, but not bad. Good. All right, so basically then it needs a decent clean and polish. We need to figure out why it's not getting power from the batteries, and we could do with cleaning up the controls, see if we can bring some of that responsiveness back to the arrow buttons. So first thing we'll do then is get it apart. And so to that end, what do we have? Okay, and it should just pop open. Yep. Okay, and there's the lid. So we can see the mechanism here then, basically sort of hot welded in. So if we wanted, we could, if we wanted to, take this screen out to polish it independently. And to do that, we just have to file back or cut off these little pegs there, and then put a bit more plastic in, a bit of plastic glue or something later on. But in any event, we'll worry about that a bit later. Let's get it working first. So, you can see that horrible, that grime. Not just, let's see, yeah, it's just dirty in there. So, all right, well the contacts look okay. So, let's have a look. It's probably something to do with this jack, I would imagine, because looking at it, we've got negative supply coming into the board. The positive supply must be the green one from the from the barrel, and the black one is the negative. So yeah, so it looks like it's the red signal. Okay, yeah, that's got it. So the red signal goes to the barrel jack, and when the jack's inserted, it must break the contact to the battery so that it saves your battery wear. So I'd imagine it's pretty dirty in there. Actually, it needs a good clean. But I think the first thing we'll do is check to see if we've actually got battery voltage. So I'm going to put the batteries back in now, and we'll have a look at the voltages. Okay, it's a few days later now actually, because I've been on the hunt for a replacement jack socket, and would you believe I've managed to find a new replacement. So that's awesome. We'll get that in a minute, but just to check on it first, there should be continuity between these 2 points, because this is when the batteries are in. So we should get, there we go, like so. And then when the jack is in there, it should separate the pins and break the continuity, which it's done. So that's fabulous. So it's definitely the right one, and it's great for size and for fit, so that's fantastic. So what I have managed to do, at least in the meantime, is just to go on now and clean all the different parts of the assembly. So that's done. So we'll just get that back together now, I think, and then we'll solder in the new power lead. I also cleaned underneath the pads as well to give them top responsiveness when the time comes. Right, good stuff. So first thing I'm going to do next then is actually just desolder this jack socket and get the new one in. And there you can see, nice, much better. Weird, but I couldn't just seem to get that one to settle. I bent it this way, that way, the other way, but I couldn't quite get that one to work. So hopefully, here we go, we'll just do a dry run of the new one in the slot there. Absolutely perfect. Good stuff. So all that remains now is to yeah, just go ahead and get this new one in. Okay. I'll put copious amounts of solder on there. Take a bit of a hammering, don't they, these things? So there we go. Right, so we'll just do a quick test, I think. Quick continuity test between the black and the red, and then plug the jack in. Yeah, that's okay. Good. So that should have solved that issue. So let's get some batteries in. Actually, no, let's power it up first. So we've got 6 volts negative tip. All right, and there she is, working nicely. So that's that, and off. And if I put some batteries in now, just very carefully. And now the moment of truth. Perfect. Good stuff. There we go then. So it's working off batteries and mains voltage. So that's fantastic. So that's cured the problem as was. So we've also now just gone in and cleaned everything up and reassembled it. that only remains then from our original list, which was here. Works on mains only. We've now sorted that. Not on batteries yet, and it needs buffing. So the next stage is to clean the top unit, and there's some quite nasty scratches in there. Really quite nasty scratches in that. It's not cracked, but it's not pretty, and those scratches are rather too close to that label for my liking. Now, you know, it's not the best label in the world. It's not perfect, but we don't want to make it any worse than that. And if we start scrubbing at this, I mean, you can hear there's some nail stoppers in there. That's not at all nice. So what I'm going to do is be brave about this. I think we actually have to sand this out and bring it back properly, so you can see the state of that. We'll go and do some work. First thing we need to do though is remove this, and this is actually held in, it's melted in place at various places along there. So what we'll do is just, I think, get a heat gun, melt some of this out, get the plastic away, and then we've got something we can work on. There we go. Good. Alrighty, so this is what you get left with once you've done that. Essentially, we've got a grimy control panel there, because of course this has never been apart before, one would imagine. There's a little black cardboard plate that runs there, and that's because this plastic is translucent, so just helps to create that nice black finish underneath. If you didn't have that, it would be, hang on, where's it gone? There we go. It would look a bit naff, and you'd be a bit obvious as to what it is. So that gives it a bit more depth. So what that allows us to do anyway now is to be able to sand this properly, get those nasty scratches out of there, and yeah, clean this up, buff the case, and then we'll get it back together, and then that is that. Okay, well, the sun's shining, so I've come outside for this bit. Basically, I've got various grades of paper here. I think I'm going to start sanding at, what have we got here, 800. And from 800, I've got 1,000, I've got 1,200, I've got 1,500, 2,500, cutting compounds, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know where to start actually. I might just start on 1,000. I think I'm just going to start on 1,000. That seems to be biting okay. So I'm not going to go down to 800. I don't think I need to. So basically I'm just going to get the worst of these scratches out. Can't put too much pressure on because of course I don't want to snap the plastic. You might think I'm crazy actually sanding it with paper, but you'd be surprised. Sometimes fortune favours the brave. It's a bit like restoring car headlights and stuff like that. At the end of the day, you won't get the scratches out just by looking at them. So anyway, I'm going to start making my way through these grades. Looks nice when it's wet, and then you'll see it'll be proper foggy now, proper foggy. I'm just going to make my way through the grades and be back when it's nearly ready. I'm a few grades in now. It's that stage where it looks great where it's wet, and it is really smooth, I've got to say, but it's still going to fog up a fair bit. So I'm going to get down to the penultimate couple of grades now, and probably change the water. The idea basically, what you're doing is you're making the scratches as deep as the original scratches to get them out. Then the next grade is finer, so you're then polishing through the scratches of the previous grade, and then the next grade polishes the scratches out of that grade, etc, etc, and eventually you end up where you've just got a really smooth surface ready for cutting with some compound. So I've just changed the water for the last grade, because there's all sorts of bits of the old cuttings, as it were, in there. So you can probably see where it's dry, it's still really, it's not clear at all. Yeah, that's still got some grain in it, but that's because we're not ready yet. So now we're on to 2,500. And 2,500 is not bad actually. You know, you will go and can go with sandpapers an awful lot finer than that. 3,000, 5,000, whatever. Quite specialist, but we'll be okay for this just with some elbow grease. Cut it down with 2.5 thou, and then some cutting compound from there. It'll be time to go in, have a coffee, get the tea cut out, and see what we can do with it. Right, that's it now. It's super smooth. It really is silky smooth to the touch now, but you can see it's quite foggy and you can't really see through it very well. So now we'll go ahead and get some cutting compound on there. There she is. So we'll have a proper look in a minute, but first up, I just want to add a finishing touch here, and that is the original paint was white on here. So bring out the old tyre paint from the good old days of painting your tyres, and I'm just gonna see if I can get some paint on here. Not perfect, but better than nothing. Good stuff. Right, let's take a proper look. So there's the top plate, nicely polished up. Also done the screen as well. So whilst not perfect, it's certainly an awful lot better than it was. So we'll get all this together in a second. I've also, by the way, just put a little bit of paint on the switches there, just to replace that's worn off over the time. So we'll get this cardboard back in there and pop that back in, and it's snapped in quite nicely now, to be honest. But what we will do is just put a little bit of hot glue. We could have melted these tabs back over, but I don't want to risk going through too much and disturbing the plastic. It is quite thin, so I'm just going to put some hot plastic over the top of these just to seal them in. Obviously when you're playing, it's in compression anyway, so the pressure will obviously be downwards and not pulling it away from the face, but nonetheless it'd be nice to try and put it back more or less as it was. Now I did put some yellow plastic through the gun here. It hasn't worked its way through yet, but I don't think it will in time, to be honest, and I'm not that worried about it. Not going to be that anal. So I'm literally just going to put this clear glue on. And that is literally it. So all that remains is to screw it back together, plug it in and have a play. Here it is then, Munchman from Grandstand, all sorted now. When it came in, it didn't work from the batteries. When it was fundamentally okay, because it did work from the mains, but for whatever reason, it wasn't working from the batteries, and it was also really scuffed up and scruffy looking. Basically, there was an issue with the jack socket, which should normally disconnect the batteries, and for whatever reason, wasn't reconnecting the batteries, as it were, once the jack was removed. So we managed to find an exact replacement of the original, which was fortuitous. So we've got that in, and now it should be working okay. We'll check it in a second. So we've given the body a polish. We've taken everything apart inside as well. So we've cleaned all the switches. We've cleaned all the pads below for responsiveness. And yeah, she's looking nice now. We also were brave, and the screen was particularly grubby, so there was nothing to lose. But obviously we didn't want to destroy the sticker there, so it was easier just to effectively heat out or drill out the screen and sand that down and give it a decent sand and a polish. And there we go. So there she is. Right, let's turn it on and see what we can see. In fact, I'm going to turn the light off just to give us a bit more of a backlight. Now, it will flicker because of the shutter speed, I expect, but here we go. There we go. It's working from the batteries, and you can see how clean that screen is now. The definition through there is superb. There we go. I mean, that was a real mess before, so it's fantastic. And we'll just see, there we go, left and right, up and down. Yep, all the pads are working correctly. The sound is there and it's gorgeous. Looks great. So really pleased with that. So there we go then. Very simple little fix in the end. Just a new jack socket and a decent strip down and a clean and a polish, and away we go. So that's the Munchman from Grandstand. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do check out the rest of the channel and consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell for updates. We've got loads more vintage games, but we've got boomboxes, personal stereos, 8-track players, all kind of retro stuff. So if you're into all your old school tech, then please do give us a follow, and I'll see you soon. In the meantime, take care. Bye bye.